Okay, so Elzada,
Okay,
please
perfect.
introduce yourself to us.
Perfect. I write under the pen name of Elzada James, and I am a poet, live in the Pacific Northwest, and I've always been a writer, but I haven't always been able to really answer the call of being a writer. Poetry kind of came later. And it's only recently that I've really kind of tried to settle down into a writing practice and really try to integrate that as a big part of my life. So that's kind of how I ended up here. I only started writing on Substack a couple of months ago, just kind of a way to keep me accountable and keep my I figured if I could post something once a week and just to keep me showing up. And so that's kind of where we landed here. And a couple of I mean, maybe like a month ago, I thought, well, maybe I should try some poetry contests or submitting things somewhere, and that's how we're here.
Lo and behold, we show up at your screen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was so funny because I saw the contest and I was like, "Ooh, interesting theme for the 4th of July and the fireworks," and I'm like, "Ah, I'll submit, I'll think of something," but I didn't have any inspiration for a long time, and I saw the interview part of the winnings. I didn't think that I would win, but I was like, "Oh, I don't know about the interview thing. I'm not very inspired. I don't wanna do an interview. I'll pass on this one." And then an idea came, and I got really, really excited about it, and I wrote the poem. I was so excited I completely forgot about the interview. And then, and then I happened to win, and I was like, "Oh, the interview."
Well, if the interview is what causes you to have like a hang up about it, we'll call it a chat. It's not an interview,
Chat.
it's just a casual chat with the winner of our first poetry contest. We do have a couple of questions for you. We did ask that the audience prepare a couple of questions too, well, plus a pastry and a coffee. I hope we have some questions for you from them. If not, we have prepared plenty of questions for you as well. And we are curious to know a few things about you. So, at how the beginning. So, how old were you when you started writing?
Yeah, well, I think I started writing in elementary school. I was a reader first. I think that's a lot of writers are born. I was a voracious reader as a child, and I always loved English class and language arts. And I kind of wrote here and there, and I mean, it's like I wrote a couple of poems, and in high school, I wrote like 4 chapters of like a teen romance novel and like fan fiction, but nothing really serious. Um, it was kind of just for fun here and there. And it wasn't until like my mid 20s, I moved to Seattle and I had the experience of on my days off, I would just walk through the city and see what I found, like, no goals, I would just wander the city, and I would find myself noticing things, and it was almost like the poem started just coming out, and so I started to write, and that's where I fell in love with the process, I fell in love with being inspired and playing with the words and writing a poem, finishing a poem. I love printing them out, and so it feels like I can hold it in my hands and I made something out of nothing. It's the coolest feeling, and yeah, I don't know. I so that's when I really started leaning into like, "Hey, maybe maybe I am a writer."
So, what was the
Yeah.
first poem that that moment, the first poem you wrote that you felt, okay, this is my calling?
Yeah. Well, I think
We may
it
ask you
was
to read
less.
it for us.
Yeah, yeah. It was less of a calling, I think, and more of a moment of commitment, is that this was something in some ways I needed to do. I so I was on vacation with my family in Alaska, and my baby was 1 year old, so I was exhausted and I was dysregulated, and I was just I mean, that first year was so hard. I was completely unmoored. And so we were in Alaska and we were on a boat. And I remember standing at the edge of the boat, looking down. And I wanted peace and I wanted to jump. And in that moment, I don't know what really came over me. I stepped back and I took out my phone and a poem came out. Like, I just started to write. And I think that poem I think that poem showed me that writing was a way to live. Like, not just to make money, but to live. And I think that was the moment that I realized I wanted to commit to
So
writing.
you were alluding to some heavy mental health issues, and I think we are all, privy to some of our own. I myself have some. I've been in therapy for years, and I also have just shared some of your feelings, and also poetry did save me through my cancer treatment. I also am neurodivergent. I'm dyslexic. So like you, finding the ability to use words is what kind of like saved me and how I communicate and interact with the world. But this is something that, yes, is a common thread among poets and among writers, right? Like that existential crisis, that feeling too much, and having the need to express through writing, and have writing actually save us. There's
Yeah.
a common tattoo people use that is a semicolon, that it's
Mhm.
exactly about, there you are, about
Yeah.
life, and realizing, okay, this is not the end, but a semicolon, and life shall continue. I'm very glad
Mhm.
you're here with us, and I'm very glad poetry found you and gave you the motivation you needed to keep going, keep living. And now you're a mother of two, right?
Just one for
Oh, just
now.
one. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm already adding a child
Oh,
to
no. No, it's okay. Like, where is that other one?
you. It's the poetry you birth every day. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
trying.
If you
um,
don't if you
Go
don't
ahead.
mind, yeah. So I wanted to know how you print the poems. You write them down on a Google Doc and then you print them, and then what do you do with them? Do you put them somewhere in your room, like your favorite ones? Yeah, just tell me more.
Yeah, right now I just printed off of a Google Doc, and right now they're just sitting in a stack on my desk. Um, I would like to put them in a binder of some kind, I think, but right now they're just hanging out in the stack, and I'll go back and I'll reread them here and there, and it just kinda reminds me that of the practice and the fact that I'm building a practice and practicing, and I'm putting work out there, and I see the stack get bigger over time, and it kinda motivates me to keep going.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's great. How is your editing process? Since you said you print them and they have been, because mine, they are all over, and I edit nonstop.
Oh, yeah. It's hard it's hard to stop the editing, like, that final call of, "I'm done." It's really hard to stop
I'm
sometimes.
glad I'm not alone.
Um, no, no. Inevitably, I'll go back and I'll think, "Well, I could change that. I think that could be cool to look a different way." Um, yeah, my editing process, I do a lot of it in the document online, and I'll take notes on my phone as well. So as I'm away from my computer, kind of walking around, I can take notes on different edits. I would like to play around with printing it out and then doing edits with like a pen or a pencil. Um, but right now it's mostly just it's all online. Although I had the thought the other day that it would be cool to save an original version of the poem so I could kind of see where it started and where it ended. I haven't really played with that, but I thought it would be really interesting.
I actually I do that. I save every
Yeah.
version of it because sometimes I feel that I'm going to have the regret. Like maybe I went too far and I need to
Yeah.
to go back.
Mhm.
So I do
Yeah.
that as well. So let's start with you mentioned we're talking about inspiration, and you said that sometimes you go
Mhm.
around town and you go and see things, and that's a common practice. People watching is one of it's a great source of material for poetry. You can go to a cafe and you can watch somebody eating or how they order something or how they relate to one another, a couple walking together or sitting at a park. That's to
Mhm.
me, it's all material and it's source of possible inspiration, when it visits. Because
Yeah.
so how is it for you on a daily basis? I know you mentioned that it was the cherry tomatoes with bomb in their names that so tell us more about that moment and how that unfolded into a poem, because it's a very
I
interesting story.
I mean, it's really, really mundane. I mean, I had tomatoes on my kitchen counter, and, it was just a grocery store pint of tomatoes, and they're called flavor bombs. And I kinda noticed them, and I stopped, and my brain kinda started flashing with images of all the other brands I've seen that include "bomb" in the name for cherry tomatoes. So you've got, like, honey bombs and sugar bombs and cherry bombs. Like, I've seen all of these in the grocery store before, and that was kinda where, "Oh, maybe there's something here that could be really interesting to play with this idea of a cherry tomato being representative of a bomb." Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Did you already know those tomato varieties, or did you through seed catalogs for this piece?
Yeah, so I garden a little bit. I'm working on my black thumb. I'm getting there. So I knew some. We're growing the Fantasticos in our garden this year. The rest of them I picked up by looking at the seed catalogs and experimenting with the different colors and the variety names and just trying to figure out which ones sounded good together and kinda captured the range of colors you could see in fireworks.
Yeah. And were there any tomato names, images, or phrases that but ended up cutting? Like, what ended up making it to the final draft opposed to the first
It's a
ones?
great question.
Yeah, yeah, I love that question, and that was part of what kept me thinking about, like, "Oh, I should save some of those prior drafts because I could remember, but I wish I could remember more of the specifics." Um, but some of the ones that were cut, Sun Gold Tomatoes, Candyland Red, I played with as kind of like a nod to the concept of play, but then it just kind of felt a little too on the nose, I guess. And the other one I played with was there's a purple tomato variety called Midnight Snack, and I kind of I thought like, "Oh, fireworks late at night, midnight snack, that there's something that could work there, I think," and part of me feels a little regretful I didn't find a place for it, but that's alright. It just I was on a time constraint.
Yes, I mean, we had a line, not a time, but a line and word constraint that we did do. But I thought it was incredible what you did with the tomatoes and inserting the names. So you added flavor, you added like the imagery, the sensorial. It's like I could have a tomato in my mouth and it could have like I felt it like the biting into it and the exploding. So it was very sensorial to me, and I think this is one of the things that attract us um all to your poem was the ability you had to use something mundane as food and the usage of the bomb names of the tomatoes and the sensorial aspect that you mix it all together. So you had sound, you had palette, so it was a, a firework of poem. It was an explosion of sensorial and imagery and sound and taste. Um,
If I may add real quick, I think you should also do another piece, but you can always do a part two and then tag or link to your first one
you
competition.
can now expand on it,
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
but I think it's perfect as is. You could do
Thank
a
you.
cherry tomato series.
Yeah.
Um, so actually, this part of our next questions. Your poem moves something sensorial, playful, and sensory into something much darker. What was that? The shift was planned, or it just evolved as you were writing? That this
It
amalgamation.
yeah. It evolved as I was writing because the place I started with was the sensory experience of a tomato. And as I was writing this about the sensory experiences of a tomato, I had the thought that, oh, I love cherry tomatoes so much. I'm never satisfied with just one cherry tomato that's good. And that's where the line came to me, like it will satisfy you this time. And the line just came by itself. That was the line. And once that line was included in the poem, I could feel the tone shift and I could feel the poem going in a darker direction. So it definitely evolved as I was writing it.
Okay. Um, we would like to know, both of us as well as I'm sure people on the chat, like, how do you usually write? Do you have a set beat? Do you have a schedule? And or you wait for inspiration, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I have a backlog of things that I write down as I'm getting inspired, so I can pull from that list if I'm feeling kind of stuck. As for my writing practice, I try to show up to write every day through the week in the evenings once my child's in bed. Now, having young children, a young child in the house, my practice has to be flexible. It usually pans out to me having a set writing time, like 3 to 4 times a week. And yeah, it has to be flexible right now. So I just try to be gentle on myself and I just try to show up as often as I can.
But do you have moments that inspiration comes and it's like a one go, like you write an entire poem in one sitting?
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely those pieces that
Those.
I've got something. I've got something. I've got to sit down and write it. Um, yeah, absolutely. And then other times it comes along slowly. And sometimes I do get stuck and I table a poem for an extended period of time. But my favorite ones are the ones where I sit down and I'm like, I got this. I got something coming out right now.
I woke up today like this. I felt something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can. Have you ever posted something like that without like editing later, or do you usually like write out like something in an outburst and then you're like, this is perfect? Like,
Oh, I've had some poems that are very close, but I feel like I'm very analytical, so I like to really sit and make sure everything lines up right, and, oh man, I feel like posting something without editing it, I felt the fear in my chest of like, "Oh my gosh, not editing it," but I feel like that would be a cool exercise to do.
yeah,
And given that you mentioned that sometimes this inspiration comes but you have to be patient and calm with yourself due to the fact of having a child. Um, do you find that certain environments, moods, or sensory experiences can bring out the words to the surface, like faster, more, it makes it a perfect recipe for that inspiration to come?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different scenarios and environments that I find inspiration comes more often. Um, I mean, I walk almost every day, so when I'm walking, I get a lot that comes through. Um, and then on the flip side, the environment that I like best to write in is, like, a rainy, moody day, dark green wallpaper, kind of like a nice calming hug, very moody, yeah. Um, I'm currently turning one of our walk-in, like, extra spare closets into an office, so eventually I hope to make a space that fits that need very well, like lots of dark greens and artwork and yeah.
Going back to how you went with the chicken tomatoes for this particular poem, when you are writing a new poem in general, how do you approach metaphor and symbolism? Do they sort of always arrive intuitively, or do you build them intentionally before you start? How do you usually go about that? Or is it different?
Sometimes I'll have symbolism and metaphor in mind when I start a poem, but usually not. Usually it comes pretty intuitively, and what usually happens is second on my reread of the poem, my first draft, I will kind of identify the ones that I feel like work really well, and then I will start to edit the poem with that symbolism in mind. And sometimes I'll do additional research to kind of add supportive elements that I may not have thought of initially, but the emergence of symbolism and metaphor is usually intuitive in the first draft.
Okay. Um, if it's not too much, we wanted to also know, how does being autistic affect the writing process? And like, is there any particular like sensory things, taste or focus, language that feels like it is different for you, or that really, really like things stand out for you writing?
Yeah, I think the big thing that I can think of is being autistic. I need a lot of processing time. I need a lot of processing time for feelings. I need a lot of processing time for experiences, conversations, transitions, and the same is with writing too. And so I think that's where I picked up the practice of writing something and I'll put it down and I'll come back to it in a day or so, maybe longer. And I just give it time to like marinate so I can figure out what I'm trying to say. What am I feeling about this particular subject? And I can't remember exactly, but I think in on writing, I think Stephen King talked about doing something similar with his manuscripts where he tucks it away and comes back to it. And I find that works really well for my neurotype.
Mhm.
I wish my anxiety, my neurotype would allow me to do that. Like I try so best, like for a few days, but sometimes I just want to get it out to the world, like right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I'm like, wait, I needed to add this. Or I wake up the next day, I have an idea, and now I have to,
Mhm.
you know. With that being said, is do you notice that, because to me, I write on a variety of things. My brain, has a focus of it's always, all over the place. But I have, for example, we have friends and we have some writers that we know that have specific niches of poetry that they write. Some usually with a lot with food, some a lot with nature. Some, they have in a specific. How do you feel that because of your neurodivergency, do you have themes, images, or rhythms that appear in your writing because of how your brain works, and more often so? Do you have like that niche or desire to, or necessity to fulfill that?
Yeah, there's a couple of parts. First, I feel like I'm still finding my voice and I'm still finding where I sit as a writer and um I'm still exploring that, but there's definitely some things I find myself gravitating towards, and sensory experiences are huge because I feel like I experience things so intensely. So in my poetry, I really like to include the sensory aspects that bring a person into sitting in a place in the poem. If they can experience it, then they can bring themselves there. And I mean, I do see a lot of themes of isolation and outsidership and trying to find the sense of belonging somewhere. I see a lot of that in my poetry right now. I mean, am still kind of coming to terms and learning about my neurodivergence. I was late diagnosed, so I'm still learning, and I think that reflects a lot in my poetry right now.
Does that affect rhythms? Like, is there any particular structures that you prefer, or do you sometimes like reverse as well?
Oh yeah, I think I love repetition. I love when a poem has some sort of structure that I feel like I can, not that a poem has to be predictable, but if there's a loose sense of structure, it feels really good. I like structure and repetition. I use that a lot. I think I have an alliteration problem. I think I use a little bit too much alliteration sometimes because I love that repetition and the sound of it in my ears.
Do you have any rituals or adaptations that make writing more accessible or emotionally comfortable to you?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about it, I definitely try to make writing as sensory soothing as possible. If I am getting inspiration, I can be out and about, I can be at a cafe, but if I'm sitting down to write, I need to be in my, like, safe space. I need to have that dark environment and the dim lights, and I just need to kind of turn turn my senses down a little bit so I can let the words come out a little easier. I love a good weighted blanket. Weight is so helpful, it helps just grounds me, and I have a heated, weighted, emotional support stuffed animal. It's my it's, an orca,
What is the name
and
of the
so
orca?
this is Millie. This
Hi,
her
Millie.
full name is Millie Vanilli because she smells like vanilla.
Uh,
So, I'll warm her up, and she'll just sit on my lap, and, I just love the weight and the heat.
Sounds comforting. I want a Millie myself. Um, what advice would you give to other autistic writers who want to share their work but feel nervous or unsure about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still nervous and unsure about sharing my work, so I feel like I don't know if I have a lot of advice to give, but something that's helped is knowing that you're not alone, that there are other neurodivergent creators out there. I think a lot of
Here,
artists
here.
are. Uh-huh, yeah, right, and that feeling of after feeling alone and weird and like an outsider for so long, realizing that you're not alone and following other people, other creators that are going through the same things, I think it helps a lot.
Yes, our voices are necessary. They are needed. Your voice is needed. Whatever the neurodivergency, ADHD, dyslexia, autism, you know, all of our voices, we need representation, and we're glad to
Yeah,
have you. And I'm glad
thank
to
you.
that we can relate to that as well. I feel like I found in my voice. You're saying you found finding your voice, and I feel exactly the same way through my neurodivergence to have it is so what I took it for many years to be a curse. It's actually one of my greatest blessings in the end.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
um what you mentioned before that you have everything on oh, I'm sorry. What do you wish that people would understand about autistic creators and how we process the world?
Well, I definitely can't speak for all autistic people because we're all so different, but I can speak to something I've heard from some other autistic writers and something that I really, really feel strongly about that resonates with me as well is that I I write because I feel like I can't communicate well in other ways. Like when I have conversations with people, it feels like because of my processing speed and my sensory overload picking up on everything else going around us, it's hard to participate in conversations. It feels like I'm in a cage and I can't reach out no matter how hard I try. I can't keep up and it feels very lonely. But that's why I'm a writer and that's why I love to write because I feel like I have that time to process. I feel like I have the time to figure out what I want to say. And yeah, I think this concept of, oh, you're a really good writer, so you can have great conversations,
That's,
is
yeah,
not
not
true.
necessarily.
No.
No, it's actually because we take longer to process our feelings and emotions, and in doing so, we put it to paper to really try to process everything. I couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah.
It's not always that we're gonna have great conversation. I may sit
Yeah.
down next to you and be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we have a question now. We're going to move to questions because we know that you have mentioned before that you're working on an upcoming collection, that you have your poetry sitting next to you, that you like to print them all and keep it on a file. And we can assume, and you, as you gave it away a little bit, that you are working on your releasing your poetry in a book. Um, and as you said before, it centers on isolation and motherhood, especially for those navigating disability, trauma, and mental health challenges. Um, what does make you feel that you want to write this book now?
Yeah, well, I think first of is the logistics of why it's coming out now. I feel like for the last couple of years with a young child in the house, going through the experience of having a newborn, I was writing poetry in the margins of survival mode. Like, I did not have the bandwidth to do anything else, and I'm starting to get, knock on wood, a little bit more sleep these days, and I just remembered how alone that I felt, and so I guess I'm writing the book to process my experience and with the hope that maybe somebody else, a struggling mother, um, might be able to find that
Solace in your
when
poetry.
yeah, and be able to find a place to relate to this experience of going through the transition of motherhood, which is so hard on its own. It is one of the biggest transitions you'll go through. And when you have the additional cards of neurodivergence or mental health struggles or trauma, it is harder. There's things that you have to navigate that not everybody does. And when you get the advice like, oh, go out with the other mothers and you can all relate to each other, I found that that didn't always happen. And it made me feel more alone. Yeah, so I think that's a big inspiration for why I want to turn this into a collection.
That is a beautiful reason to have and a beautiful way to create community and connections with others, like through your poetry and your book that can resonate and find your tribe, really. Because you are right. I have a lot of friends that are mothers, and sometimes they go to those soccer games or this or that. And the idea that you're going to find community just because you're a mother too, sometimes it's not quite there. And it's a
Mhm.
common thread among mothers that I have had conversations with. So, yes, showing up authentically and as yourself and honoring your poetry may be the right channel for you to find, the right people to connect with. And given that you have mentioned that, so how has community, online or offline, helped you stay connected to your writing? Um, are there any spaces, tools, or practices that have helped?
I feel like I mean, I feel like the new kid right now. I have not really been a part of a writing community. I haven't really stepped out of my shell in that way. I feel like joining Substack
You are now.
was kind of yeah, kind of putting myself out there a little bit, so it's all new. But I do have to give a shout out to Tim at Cerulean Hues because they were one of the first people to share one of my poems, and it was such an early confidence booster. And they put together collections of weekly poetry. Every week they release a collection of different poets on Substack, and so it that has been really helpful to read more people's work and see what's out there and find out what people are writing about. So I think that has been awesome. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. So you gave her the inspiration so she can continue going, and and here she is now. I think this is a confirmation that you are on the right track and the right path. Even the universe is giving you signs. Um, so we are now. Let's look ahead and see what can you share anything about your poetry collection that you're working on right now with us? Do you have a title?
Yes. Well, I do have a title. I feel like I'm not ready to release it to the world yet. I don't really I'm assuming that I'm gonna self-publish, but I don't really know. So I'm keeping the title close to my chest for now. Um, but I think just this one of the themes that I'm really interested in pulling out is this imagery of motherhood kind of swallowing you up in some ways, like you're being consumed by this great maw of motherhood and being transformed in a way. Um, it's in my head, it feels like a behemoth when you're new and everything is so challenging and you have no sleep and you have no idea what you're doing. Um, so I love that kind of imagery that I'm working with, and I I would like I would like to think that it will come out next year, 2026. Um, but I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'll keep you updated on that.
Do you have any
Yeah.
poetry that you want to share with us now? A sneak peek of a little snippet of any?
Oh, well, there is one poem that I have on my Substack right now that I think will be included in the collection, and it's called "My Shame Swallows Me Whole." And that poem really kind of captures the feeling of not knowing what you're doing as a new mother, maybe doing or saying something that you regret. You don't that wasn't how you wanted to show up as a parent. It happens, I think, to every single parent where you suddenly feel that sense of shame that comes over you. And yeah, so that was the inspiration for the poem. But it's also written so that anybody who experiences that sense of shame can hopefully relate to that poem.
Yeah,
For the
we become more empathic to our own parents, right? When we realize that, yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in some ways I became more empathic to my own parents, and then in other ways, it almost made me more angry because of, like, this experience of I don't know, sometimes when you have childhood trauma, when you become a parent, it makes you feel more upset because you wish it could have looked different, and you know that it's hard, but at the same time, it makes you ask why even more because you're trying to do it differently. But you're right, you can never see the full picture, which makes it tricky, and we're all human, and I feel like you become an adult when you fully realize you have no idea what you're doing.
Is there any reason why you're self-published or why you think to go that route?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I've read a lot of back and forths about self-publishing, traditional publishing, and I may try to approach traditional publishing if I can find the right fit. But I think I like going at my own pace, and I might be nervous about the whole process too. So that might be me saying, "Well, that's kind of scary. Maybe I'll just assume I'll do it myself because I don't have that confidence yet."
I I understand. And aside from the book, do you mind telling us about a more goal that you have and are working towards? Um, yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple of pieces outside of the collection that I would really love to see published somewhere, certain poems that mean a lot to me. One of them was that poem that I talked about earlier, The Waitress. It's I submitted it somewhere to start, and I would love to see it see the light of day, um, and I'm sure it will eventually. So I have that goal of those particular poems that mean a lot to me. I would like to see them published. And a personal goal, lately I've been feeling really itchy to travel. So I would like to go travel abroad and get some inspiration somewhere new.
Do you know where?
Where's your go-to place? Tell us.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I have only traveled abroad once when I was very young, and so I don't know. I think some places I would like to visit is maybe like Ireland or New Zealand or Japan. I think are the first places that come to mind.
Mhm.
Really nice.
Is
I
there
would love
any
to go to New Zealand.
order for them? Like, if you had to choose one place now, which one?
Oh, well, a particular order. I don't know. I couldn't say. I want to go to all those places for different vibes and different reasons. So I don't know. Whatever feels right first.
Yeah, sure. Lana?
I think, Castle, you have one more question, no?
Yes. So someone in the audience asked, I think it was him, if you ever thought of recording along with the poems, like putting an audio. Uh,
Yeah, I've definitely thought about it. I just haven't gotten there yet. It crossed my mind. I have it written down as an idea to do. Maybe later when I feel like I have my footing a little bit.
okay. Yeah.
And we have one more question. So tell us before we let you go. First, we want to thank you so much for being here. We want to thank the audience question there. And hopefully, this video will stay here. People can revisit later and understand your process. And hopefully, then go back and to revisit your poems, The Waitress. Revisit my shame swallows me whole, which I'm super curious about. I will be visiting your Substack after this to read it, and they can relate to you, and that your words can resonate with more people, and that you can find your tribe. We more certainly than not are on the right path. Thank you, Tim. And thank you for being courageous enough to take on the challenge, even though at first you were insecure, you didn't know if you wanted to participate or not. Thank you for those tomatoes for giving you inspiration to send out your submission. And last but not least, what's one thing you're looking forward to do this week?
Oh, tomorrow I'm heading out into the mountains for a little getaway, and so I'm gonna go. No internet, hiking,
Sounds like a
breathing,
great time to
no
write.
trees. Oh yeah, yeah, it's gonna be wonderful. I'm really excited.
Take us with you. I want to go to the mountains too. Have no
No,
cell
I wish I could
phone,
take you.
nothing.
Yeah.
Cass, your final words?
Yeah, no, I was just messaging. Stay tuned for the next prompt for the following poetry competition. And I don't know if you want to wrap it up with one more question.
Oh, yes. So we are going to have our next poetry prompt dropping soon. If not later today, tomorrow. So everyone has time to prepare. I know the last one was a little short period of time. And we will then do this again. We'll have the same the prize and the write up and the interview. And maybe if we do it with enough time, we can have like a round table talk systems where we can have also second place and third place and the honorary
Fourth place, fan favorite.
favorite participate as well and make this a literary round table talk. I think this would be exciting, so we can share more of our creative process and see where we land, and maybe create a very you know thriving and vibrant community with our winners of the contests that we have been organizing. So this will be exciting. Please, guys, stay tuned for the prompt. Do send your submissions, and we're really excited to see where creativity will take you guys this time, because it was excellent. Our turnout was amazing. The materials you guys submitted was incredible. Cass?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Elzada, and thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thank you,
it. It's
Elzada, and we'll look
been
forward
a
to the
blast.
submission to the next.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone that took the time to watch us at home. I know took a little bit of your Saturday today, and we look forward to dropping the prompt for the next and seeing you guys in the next competition. Stay a rebel and stay well at heart. Bye-bye.